What's up, YouTube? This is going to be our guide on how to use Braviary Hisuian in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'll be providing competitive movesets and some fun meme movesets too. If there's a Pokemon set you'd like to see me cover, let me know about in the comment section and let's get into it. Pre-apologizing here, my voice is a little bit croaky today, so if I sound like a Politoed, yeah, that would be the reason. Sort of strained my voice. Alright, so the first set you're probably going to see the most on Braviary Hisuian is going to be a Carmine boosting set. So let's have a look at its stats. So we've got a nice special attack stat and a nice health stat. Everything else is, yeah, it's a little bit subpar to say the least. So I'm going to be using a Carmine boosting set. Now you can run this with two different abilities. You can either go modest or you can go timid, which both work fairly well. Now, the reason why I'm suggesting a modest here over timid is you can able to use its move Esper Wing, which is actually going to be pretty nice for boosting its speed by one stage every single time you use it. Plus, it's got a crit chance too. So that's its new move, signature move, 80 base power. And we've got a 100% chance of Razor Speed plus a chance of a crit, which isn't a bad move to say the least. It's going to be its bread and butter for sure on the Psychic side. So with max Special Attack and max Speed, after one Esper Wing, you're outspeeding most things, which is pretty nice. You also got Carmine there as well. So they work very, very well together. Now, the other move I'll give it is Hurricane, which is a great flying type move. It's a little bit inaccurate, but it's still its most, probably its best flying type move to have. And we've also got Terra Blast. So I've got Terra Blast Fighting, which is good for dark type Pokemon that, you know, can come in and threaten to faint you. And we've also got the ability here, Tinted Lens, which is actually a pretty nice ability for this Pokemon. So the Pokemon's attacks that are very effective are going to be dealing double damage, which is good against any Pokemon that, you know, can wall Braviary for sure. Now, the item I thought would be best on it as a sweeping set would be heavy-duty boots. That way, you're not going to take any damage from any entry hazards or get, you know, slowed down by anything. So, Stealth Rocks is not going to affect you, which is always good for a flying-type Pokemon. It does have Sheer Force too, but Sheer Force I don't think is as good as Tinted Lens, but I did do a Sheer Force set a little bit into the movesets here. So we'll get to that one in a sec. But yeah, this is the one I see could be running the most. Now, there are variants you could possibly run for this. I was thinking to myself, with this set, for example, you could even run like bulky ones. So like you could have like I'm just going to do an example here. You could do like different EVs if you like. I've got a max health set with max special attack. Now, I do notice that it can get stuff like Roost. So Roost, you could have like a Roost and Carmine set. So you could maybe swap that out for Roost. And then after a couple of S Wings, you're going to get your speed back anyway. And you could potentially make this into a bulky Carmine set, you know. So you could definitely boost up your speed there and boost up your special defense and special attack. Obviously, it is still weak to a lot of prominent priority moves, which is a very big weakness of Braviary Hisuian. But I could see a set like this working, or you could get put a bit more in health. I think something like, yeah, you could put like, I don't know, between 80 health. It depends what you're trying to outspeed, what sort of rule set you're playing. So, you know, if you want to make it outspeed, I'm trying to think, something like King Gambit or something like that, you probably want to put about 80 or 90 in speed. I think like after one Esper Wing, you're going to be doing some pretty good damage. Some pretty good outspeeding there. So, yeah, so I'd maybe adjust its not max speed a little bit in health. But if you really want lots of speed on your Braviary, go for it. You could run 252 there and even Timid if you like to. So both of them will work. Just a couple of suggestions there, depending on what rule set and stuff you're playing there. So the next set I think that could work well on Braviary Hisuian could be a Choice Spec set. We're still going to be running Tinted Lens. We're just going to be dropping Carmine. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't get... I was hoping it would get something like Trick or Switcheroo, but it doesn't. So we're going to be running this one pretty standard sort of EV, same as the last one. So max Special Attack and max Speed, Timid Nature. And I've given this one Specs Tinted Lens. I still got Esper Wing on there, which is always going to be very good. We've got Hurricane. And I gave it Heat Wave because I thought that'd be all right to hit like Steel-type Pokemon. If you really, really didn't want that, you could probably replace it with another move there. I don't know, probably something... Let me give a suggestion here. So you could probably replace it maybe like Shadow Ball or something if you want to get around like Ghost Pokemon. Because even like against a Steel type, you're still going to get a Tinted Lens boost. So it still will do some alright damage for sure. And an interesting move I thought you'd give it would be U-Turn too. Since it has... be great if it had like a special move like Volt Switch, but that's not going to happen. So I thought the U-Turn would be okay there for momentum. And just depending on what Pokemon you're expecting to come in, that could definitely work. I've given this one Timid, but if you really want to get a little bit more damage in attack, you can give it Naive if you want to have a little bit more in attack. But, you know, I think that Timid would be fine on this. There's not much like difference between it. It's not really a physical attacker anyway, so you could roll that as a Choice Specs Pokemon. I've given it Terra-type Flying for Hurricane. You could give it quite a few. Let's go back to the Carmine Sweeper anyway. I feel like you could give this one Terra Flying, Terra Fairy. There's quite a lot too, but let's say you had Terra Blast. That'd probably be better for Terra Fairy. So yeah, you could have Terra Fairy on there. That's actually pretty good because you're going to obviously get around those, you're going to resist those Dark type moves and Ghost type moves and stuff like that. So that could, you know, that could definitely be quite a good one to go for. And that would probably draw out a Steel type. So maybe you want to have something on your team that gets rid of Steel type to Fire type, or something like I suggested, having maybe Heat Wave. Or I like Terra Fighting on there because that gives you the way to, you know, you're going to resist those Dark type moves, plus you can hit the Steel types too and things like that. So that seems to be pretty good there for me. But if you got any other suggestions, put up a lot in the comment section, of course. Now, I want to have a little bit of a think about doubles here, or VGC. This is a set that I came up with. It's actually not all that bad. We've got max special attack and max speed Timidation. Same EVs as the singles one. However, we've got something a little bit different. We've got Throat Spray. Now, I did notice he had the Hyper Voice, which is going to be good there in doubles. It has Dazzling Gleam, which is great for Dark types, Dragon types. Fairy's always a good move to have. And we've also got Heat Wave too, as you already know before. So that way we've got lots of spread moves there. We're going to be very, very good. And as for Psychic, well, we've got Esper Wing, which is going to boost up our speed. So I think that's quite a nice Pokemon for doubles. Nothing like super broken, but it's got a lot of moves that can be worked into doubles. If you don't want to go down a Throat Spray sort of strategy, you could have something like, say, Tailwind. It could set Tailwind up. I could see that happening, and you could just, you know, swap out Throat Spray for, let's have a look, like maybe another item. I was thinking you could, like, roll back to, like, Sheer Force with Life Orb, but the only thing, if you go, like, Sheer Force and Life Orb, you don't get the boost from Esper Wing and Speed. But if you're not really worried about speed, you could absolutely try something like Life Orb and Sheer Force. And instead of having Esper Wing, I would have Psychic, because that's got more base power. So you go for something like that. If you're really worried about your speed and you really want that Esper Wing there, then don't go Sheer Force. Let's put Tinted Lens back on there. And you could have something like, let's have a look. You could have not really much point running Heavy Duty Boots. I would possibly run like maybe some sort of berry on there. Like a Citrus Berry, we got Ability Shield. That's quite nice, Ability Shield. Covert Cloak. You could have Covert Cloak on there. Actually, I'd go with Covert Cloak. That's not a bad item because those secondary effects could really mess you up if you're trying to, like, say you're getting flinched constantly and stuff like that, and you're trying to get your Esper Wings up and you can't get them up. That would be a really, really good item to get around that, at least earlier on when you're trying to get your boost happening there. So that would be my probably suggestion there, Covert Cloak. There's a variety of items you could definitely have there, but I feel like that one will work well for this style of set. Once you got the Tailwind up, you probably wouldn't need to worry about it so much. But yeah, so quite a couple of options there. Let me just have a think here. So it does have a... I am going to go over like a default set. It does have like potential for default too, but that's more for a single. So that's what I'd probably run for doubles. Let's have a look at the Sheer Force here. These are your Sheer Force options. So as I mentioned before, we got Life Orb and Sheer Force. Sheer Force is going to boost the moves with a secondary effect by 1.3 times. And it, unfortunately, it's going to nullify the effect. So that's why I'm running Psychic instead of Esper Wing here, because you will lose your speed boost from Esper Wing. So we've got Psychic, Hurricane, Shadow Ball, and Heat Wave. So you've got all the moves there that are going to give it some extra base power. Timid Nature, so you're getting a definite amount of extra power there from Sheer Force plus the Life Orb, which is going to be very, very good. And just another way to use it, so you don't have to just set up Carmine or have choice specs. So it gives you extra options. So there you go. That's a sheer force set. The EVs on this aren't going to change too much. Like, you might be putting a little bit more health. That's about it. So this is more of a meme set, of course. It's a Pip Knight special here. So it's got, well, it has quite a terrible attack stat, but I wanted to make a physical one and explore some new things. So check this one out. So we got a Jolly Nature, max speed and max attack. Now we're going to keep Tinted Lens. I felt like that would probably work the best. So we got White Herb and we've got Close Combat. So I felt like Close Combat would be good for any of those steel types coming in there. And you can have the White Herb to activate. That way it's going to double the base power of Acrobatics, being a consumable item. So that's going to be going up in double base power to 110, which is going to be hitting pretty hard. And we've also got Zen Headbutt to get some flinches and some nice Psychic Stab. And we've got Hone Claws there to increase the accuracy and, of course, your attack stat too. So therefore, Zen Headbutt is not going to be missing. And then you've got some options there, which is pretty cool. I did have a little bit of a try this. It was okay. It actually had some, decent potential after you had Hone Claws. Once again, the problem about Braviary is its speed. That's one big thing about this Pokemon. It is quite slow. And it needs to get those, in terms of the special set, you need to get the Esper Wings up to be able to outspeed some stuff like that. So yeah, that's why I feel it definitely falls down there. Also, it's just some thoughts here. It is very weak to priority moves, like common ones like Shadow Sneak or Sucker Punch is weak to both of those moves. And, a lot of prominent Pokemon have those, and especially Dark-type Pokemon too, and Ghost types. They're going to be really, really hitting hard. And it's not exactly what you call bulky on its defense. It's got a good health stat, but that's kind of about it. It's kind of subpar, so mid. Let's have a look at another set here. Now, it has to be mentioned that this can have a stored power set. I have seen like variants of this, like, even on this Carmine. I've seen like these Carmine Roost variants there. I have seen those, and they can work. This is a bit of a fun set. So we've got Bulk Up and Carmine to make it extremely bulky, and we're going to be just spamming stored power. So every time we get a boost there in our stats, for example, Carmine works. Carmine is the best like boosting move here for stored power. So we get like 20 base power every single time. And we got Bulk Up to make it even more bulky on the defensive side. And we got Roost to heal up any damage there. Terra type normal, so it's only weak to fighting. And if a fighting type wants to come into a stored power, they are going to get Shrek'd. And yeah, obviously it's walled by Dark type. So if you're going to run like a set like this, obviously you'd have something on your team to get rid of Dark type Pokemon. Once the coast is clear, you can send it in. However, if you don't want to do that, you want to get rid of Bulk Up, and you could give it another move like Dazzling Gleam. That would allow you at least to hit any Dark type Pokemon, or you could have Terra Fighting as well. There's there's a couple of options you could use, or you could have Air Slash. That's another way of getting some flinches. But let's say, for example, you probably have that. I'd go with Dazzling Gleam. And that way you can at least hit Dark for super effective and stuff like that. But yeah, that's some options you can use for store power. Oh, I had Staff Bearer in there too, so you get like another random stat boost by 2, and that would further increase the power of stored power. Because, with a Roost set and you're setting up a lot, you're probably going to get down to a quarter health, so that would really help. I gave it Tinted Lens. That would power up any, say a Steel type comes in. Well, it's still going to be very good against it because you got the Tinted Lens boost. So you're going to get that double damage, which is going to be very, very nice and very, very powerful with stored power once you got a lot of different boosts up. Now, let's have a little look at some more sets on Braviary. This Pokemon is pretty easy to counter as well. So any Dark-type Pokemon, any Pokemon with like, Shadow Sneak, Sucker Punch, like this would be a good one, like Dragapult. Like there's so many that could, get around it, potentially outspeed it, and one-shot it. So, yeah, any Sucker Punch, Shadow Sneak Pokemon are going to be very, very good against it for sure. And normal-type Pokemon would probably be like a good partner for it. Let's have a look at this. Let me bring up some normal types. So, Ursaluna is not bad. That's not a bad partner Pokemon for it. I would possibly have a look at that. So, you got like Ursaluna. And, that could definitely threaten any Pokemon that can come in there for sure. And you might be able to set your Ursaluna up. So that's just one of the many counters or partners you could have there. It's not a hard Pokemon to counter. It's really only going to use Esper Wing and spam that and use Carmine. That's going to be virtually the most common set you're going to be able to see with it. And it can be worn down pretty easily by entry hazards too if there's no, if there's no entry hazards or no way of getting it, no defogger and stuff like that. Speaking of defog, it does have some options here. Whether you want to actually put defog on a sweeping set, you can do that. I've seen like ones like this. It was like Modest Nature or Timid if you really want. You had like Tailwind, and then it would have like its main sort of attacking moves that have like Esper Wing and Hurricane and stuff like that. I've seen like variants like this before to have like get rid of any entry hazards, put up the Tailwind and then, sort of sweep. I could see that one working. Most of the time it'll have heavy duty boots in singles. That's a good item on it. Just stops any incoming damage. In doubles, you can get a little bit more like different items like the Covert Cloak that I already mentioned there before. But if you got any other like terrors and stuff like that, let me know about it. But mostly I see this working with like, flying terror. I had fairy, fighting. There was like quite a few you could actually go for there too. Some little options. Let's have a look at some more. When I can spell Braviary's name. Let's have a look at some final sort of thoughts looking at all of its moves and stuff like that. So let's start with its status moves. So we'll go down. So it does have agility, so I don't see that being used at all because you've got Esper Wing, which does exactly the same thing, but obviously it's not +2, it's +1, but you get to attack. So I don't see agility being super amazing on it, unless you're doing some like meme set with like Sheer Force and Life Orb, and you're just using 4 attacking moves. Bulk up, we've already gone over that. You could try for a tanky bulky set. It actually has good setup moves like agility, bulk up, Carmine, Hone Claws. That's actually really quite good. But Psychic Flying isn't really what you call the greatest typing in the world either, on the other hand. We've got Defog, so you got that. We've already sort of gone over that. Rest. Roost, we've got that. We've gone over that, so you can run like a Roost set with Carmine, Stored Power, stuff like that. Or if you just want to Roost off to make it specially bulky and a special attacker, there's that option too. We got Sub, so you might be able to go for some sort of Sub Carmine set, but once you do that, you're only sort of limiting yourself to 2 moves, so you'd have to go with like Esper Wing and Hurricane. And Tinted Lens, you could still obviously do that. That's another option. Tailwind, I've gone over that. You can definitely use that in doubles or singles if you want to like a default sort of support style set. Whirlwind, I don't think Whirlwind's going to be super good on it unless you've got like a really heavy entry hazards team. It's not that bulky, so it's not going to take a lot of hits that well, and it's weak to a lot of stuff, so I don't see that being super handy. It does get Psychic Terrain. That could possibly be a way to stop any priority moves, but you'd have to set it up. Or maybe in doubles you could have a Psychic Terrain setter and then go with that with your Braviary. That could work too. That's interesting. And it gets a couple of like, obviously like Rain Dance and Sunny Day, but there's not too much. You might be able to go like Rain Dance and Hurricane or something like maybe at like, or a Rain team you could put this on. Like 100% Hurricanes is always nice. That could be an option there too. And you could do like, I don't know, Terra Water or something like that. Just thinking of some options. Let's have a look at its special moves here. So I haven't mentioned Air Slash. I was thinking of like a mean sort of set. So you've got Esper Wing still, and then you've got Air Slash, so you could try and like flinch the opponent. That could definitely work. Keen Eye isn't. Yeah, maybe Keen Eye could work a little bit in doubles. That would probably be like, or doubles of VGC style, like whatever you're playing. That could probably possibly work there. I just don't see it that viable. I feel like Tinted Lens, even Sheer Force is probably going to be better than Keen Eye mostly, but you might be able to use that one in doubles. Let's come up with like a Scumbag flinching set. Here we go. Let's see if it's got some moves for it. Yeah, it doesn't have a lot. It actually gets Icy Wind, which would be okay for doubles too, I guess, if you really. Oh, this is that's another move. It had Air Cutter, so if you wanted to, I did like this Scope Lens set. I think I did this. I'll show you my full critting set as we're talking about that, but so you got like Scope Lens, Tinted Lens. It's like a normal like sweeping set. I think I made it Timid though. Just, with Timid, you've got that initial sort of, you only need really one Esper Wing and then you can start outspeeding stuff. That's why it's kind of good for that. So I did like a Esper Wing Air Cutter set. So Air Cutter is a horrible move, but you could use it in doubles if you really, really wanted to. The problem is its base power is absolute trash. So this is more like going for critting. So these moves have got a critting chance. And yeah, you could give it Scope Lens. So you got like a 50% chance to crit then, which is quite nice. And then I don't think there was too much else. Yeah, it didn't really get to like too much else. And I think I had like Carmine on it. and like another move. I think I had Hurricane on there. Or I had Air Slash on there. So I had Air Slash or Air Cutter. One of those like two sort of moves. Oh, and obviously when you come across like a Steel type, you could go for either a Terra Blast fighting. That would probably work too. So I think that's something that I did, like a scope lens build just for a bit of fun, and it performed reasonably well. It actually wasn't all that bad. Let's have a final look here at its physical moves. Not that too many people are going to have a look at this. It actually does get some good physical moves. A lot of the same ones it gets as a Braviary that Braviary Hisuian actually gets. So we went over that. We've got Brave Bird, Close Combat, which are really, really good moves. The problem is it doesn't have the greatest attack stats. So it does get some good ones there. It does have U-turn, which you can incorporate. We went over this. You can incorporate in the special set if you want some momentum, which is pretty much only good for there if you want to have choice specs, or you maybe a defog or a tailwind and you just want to get out of there. That's virtually U-turn's only good thing there, or best thing they're going for it. But yeah, you're probably going to see the Carmine variants sets the most, I would say, or like a roosting bulky Carmine set I could possibly see, or maybe a stored power set. Outside that, I don't see it being super, super powerful. The good thing about it has Tinted Lens and Esper Wing. Esper Wing is a great move, which is definitely a positive. It gets some definitely reasonable coverage. Actually gets defog as well, which is quite good for a flying type Pokemon. So those things are always good. Sheer Force is a good ability as well, so you can run Sheer Force and Life Orb, which is quite nice for stuff like Hurricane and things like that. However, again, you have to give an Esper Wing speed boost, but you can go with Psychic. So it does have some good options there for abilities. The thing I see about it is weak to priority moves. So once you get Esper Wings up, it can still fall to priority Pokemon. And you might find yourself finding that it's difficult to set Esper Wing up as well. You might have to set that up, then take a hit, and then you're on a lower amount of health, and then you can get Revenge KO'd pretty easy. So there is that problem for sure. Having that Psychic and Flying typing, I think, sort of maybe lets it down a little bit, for sure. But definitely a very good Pokemon. Definitely not something super overpowered. Definitely not terrible. It's sort of mid. I can see it definitely getting some good use as a Carmine Sweeper for sure. And I think that pretty much covers Braviary Hisuian. I'll probably do a normal Braviary guide set in the future, just for normal Braviary. But that is about it. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, found it helpful, drop a like on the video. If you've got anything else you want to add, some other sets you use or whatever, put it below, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.